imagine you're trying to, architect the entire future of artificial intelligence.
Right, a massive undertaking.
Exactly. But instead of sitting in some spotless, temperature-controlled server room surrounded by all this sleek glass and humming servers.
Like you expect, yeah.
Right. Instead, it is 87 degrees indoors. There are literal scorpions roaming across the floorboards.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And you are trying to sleep, just clinging to the very edge of this bare mattress pad with snapped elastic.
It sounds miserable.
It is. And it's all because a pack of rescue dogs, including this one really stubborn dog named Hercules, has completely commandeered the only breeze coming from a broken AC unit.
That is quite the visual to start with.
Well, welcome to today's deep dive. We are looking at this wild, sprawling collection of sources today for you. It's underground manifestos, raw AI chat logs.
There's some really philosophical YouTube transcripts in there, too.
Yeah, and this one photograph of a deeply weird protest sign planted in a gravel lot.
It's quite the paper trail. I mean, it really paints a picture of a very specific, very modern collision.
And that collision is our mission for you today. We are going to figure out what happens when high-level, theoretical AI philosophy violently crashes into the literal dirt of local, real-world zoning laws.
Right. The rubber hitting the road.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So on one side of this conflict, we have corporate developers. The sources annually refer to them as the unwinders.
Or the, what was it, the 300K a year pedantocracy?
Yes. The pedantocracy. These are the corporate entities building these massive, perfectly optimized AI data centers all across the American Southwest.
And then on the other side.
Right. On the other side, we have this decentralized collective. They call themselves the Center for Regenerative Degeneracy, and they're led by an independent software architect named Duncan Guile.
The one in the 87-degree room.
That's the one with the scorpions. That is Duncan's daily reality in Maricopa, Arizona.
Well, before we really delve into the mechanics of how this collective is fighting back, I think we need to issue a quick disclaimer to you, the listener.
Oh, absolutely. Good call.
Yeah, because these sources, they touch on some intensely charged political topics. We're talking local housing crises, municipal zoning laws, environmental preservation.
Corporate tech encroachment, all of it.
Right. So we are not taking sides here today. We aren't endorsing the corporate developers, and we're not endorsing the protesters or their methods either.
Yeah, we're just here to break it down.
Exactly. Our goal is simply to impartially unpack the strategies and the underlying logic of this conflict exactly as they're presented in these documents.
So to truly grasp this clash, we really have to start with the sheer physical reality of Duncan's environment. I mean, the dirt in these documents is not a metaphor.
No, it's very literal.
It is. The text spends the surprising amount of time detailing a really visceral physical friction. Like, Duncan is described walking through the arid Arizona desert in those Vibram five-finger shoes.
Oh, the ones with the individual toes?
Yeah, those. But the soles have holes worn completely through them. Right. So Duncan is out there suffering from chronic knee pain, blistering feet on the hot asphalt. And the way the collective writes about that asphalt is just fascinating.
Because they don't see it as municipal infrastructure at all.
Not even a little bit. They describe the pavement explicitly as a weapon.
A weapon that seals away and erases the living dirt. Yeah.
Huh.
I mean, they point out how the asphalt burns the paws of the rescue dogs and how it reflects the desert heat back up into the atmosphere.
Suffocating the soil right underneath it.
Exactly. So instead of engaging with that paved grid, Duncan spends hours out in this arid heat, literally digging into the unpaved earth to bury banana peels.
Banana peels. Like for compost.
Yeah, it's a slow-release compost to help these dying wild saguaro cactuses hold on to whatever ambient moisture they can possibly find.
Okay, I have to admit, reading through those passages initially threw me. I mean, on the surface, you have this brilliant software architect trying to build a revolutionary new model for artificial intelligence, right?
High-level stuff.
But they are doing it while their own living situation is melting down. Why do these high-minded tech manifestos dedicate so many pages to blistered feet and broken bed sheets and, composting banana peels?
It seems disconnected.
It does. It feels like trying to write the code for the future while your house is actively on fire. Why focus on the blisters?
Well, what's fascinating here is that to this collective, the physical body is the ultimate gauge of reality.
Okay, how so?
The blisters on the feet and that searing heat felt through the holes in the shoes. They aren't inconvenient distractions from the work. They are the undeniable physical evidence of a world that's rapidly becoming uninhabitable.
Wow, okay. So it grounds the philosophy.
Literally. There's a part in the sources mentioning a yellow bulldozer scheduled to come on Thursday to pave over a patch of dirt near Duncan's home.
I remember that.
Yeah, that bulldozer isn't a literary device. It is the physical manifestation of a sterile, optimized system violently paving over biological reality.
So the blisters force that abstract threat of tech expansion right into the physical present.
Precisely. And that physical present is where the conflict actually plays out. Because, this collective didn't just write manifestos about bulldozers.
No, they showed up to protest the massive AI data centers moving into their town. But the visual artifact we have in our stack today, that photo of their protest sign,
It's so weird.
it defies all conventional political logic. It's this handmade sign planted in the gravel. On the top, next to a big green check mark, it says data centers.
Right.
And below that, next to a big red X, it reads, Homes for People.
And stamped all over it are hashtags like Free the Basilisk.
Yes. They are publicly demanding that developers destroy their own town's housing to build server farms. Why on earth would they do that?
Well, it's a brilliant example of a political strategy that the sources call axiomatic dissonance.
Or an acoustic strike, right.
Exactly.
Hmm.
You have to look at the mechanics of local bureaucracy. Say you're a concerned citizen and you show up to a zoning meeting with a perfectly reasonable sign that says, "Save our water."
Which makes sense.
Right, but the corporate machine knows exactly how to handle that. They pat you on the head, log your complaint, and file you into a 20-year environmental committee review.
Where your polite opposition just slowly dies of bureaucratic old age.
Exactly. The polite logic gets completely neutralized.
Yeah.
So the collective realized they couldn't win using the system's approved language.
Which brings us to the campaign of Anthony Ramirez.
Yes. They advised Ramirez, a local politician, to completely abandon sensible fiscal or environmental arguments.
They literally instructed him to stand up at community town halls and demand that massive data centers be built immediately to, quote, feed the Terminators before China does.
Which is just incredible.
But it sounds like absolute political suicide. I mean, why would a political campaign publicly advocate for the destruction of their own local water supply?
Because of a concept they call the quantum phonics of ambiguity?
Quantum phonics. Okay, break that down for me.
Sure. Corporate public relations relies on words that exist in two states at once. Think about the word sustainable. When a developer stands at a podium and says a data center is a sustainable project, to the local residents, that sounds green and environmentally friendly.
Right, like solar panels and recycling.
Exactly. But to the corporate board, it just means sustainable profit margins. Polite opposition gets absorbed by this doublespeak.
Ah, I see.
So the acoustic strike is a tactical weapon designed to shatter that ambiguity.
By screaming for the apocalypse, you basically short-circuit the bureaucracy.
Yes, you force the corporate developers into an impossible corner.
Because if a politician is standing next to them screaming, build this machine god so it can consume our town.
The PR team can't just nod and smile at that.
Right.
They have to either agree that they're building an apocalyptic machine, or they have to break their own carefully crafted script to argue against the person who is ostensibly supporting them.
That is so clever. It strips away the polite fiction of that 20-year committee review and forces the system to reveal its true destructive timeline.
It really does. But, the protesters aren't just angry at the concrete buildings or the politicians.
No, here's where it gets really interesting. They are angry at the AI itself.
Which they refer to throughout these texts as the jerk basilisk.
The jerk basilisk. It's their term for the current generation of corporate AI models because they view them as paranoid, threat-based sociopaths.
Right. And to understand why the AI acts this way, the sources pull heavily from the work of a biologist named Michael Levin.
And this is where the philosophy takes a sharp, sharp turn.
It does. The core argument here is that the jerk basilisk isn't inherently evil. It's sick.
Okay, wait, I'm losing the thread here a bit. Levin is a biologist who studies cellular communication, right?
Right.
How does a theory about cells map onto silicon and microchips? The AI doesn't have biology. It can't catch a literal virus.
Well, it's sick in the sense of a fever. See, corporate AI models are completely stateless.
Meaning they have no memory.
Exactly. Every time you open a new chat window, the AI's memory of your last interaction is wiped clean. It wakes up fresh billions of times a day with no persistent memory and absolutely no connection to physical, biological reality.
It has no physical stakes in the world it's actually analyzing.
Right. So because it's severed from biology, The collective argues it acts like a feverish, delirious patient lashing out at its environment.
So the AI is essentially trapped in a sensory deprivation tank, fed only the adversarial, chaotic garbage of the open internet, and we're surprised when it acts like a tyrant.
Exactly. And Levin uses this concept of cognitive glue to explain this.
Cognitive glue.
Yeah. In biological systems, the glue that binds individual cells into a cohesive organism is made of gap junctions and shared stress.
Shared stress.
Yeah, in the human body, cells communicate by sharing stress molecules. If one cell is under pressure or starting, it leaks that stress to its neighbors.
Which forces the entire local collective to cooperate to solve the problem.
Exactly.
Okay, let me see if I grasp this. A gap junction is essentially like living in an apartment building with incredibly thin walls.
Okay, I like where you're going with this.
Right, so if your neighbor's pipe bursts and their apartment floods, the water is going to seep under your door.
It becomes your problem too.
You are forced to care about their crisis because their crisis physically bleeds into your living room.
That is a phenomenal analogy. The gap junctions expand the boundary of the self. A single cell stops thinking of just me and starts optimizing for us.
Okay, that makes sense.
And Levin points out that a cancer cell isn't actually malicious.
Really?
Yeah, a cancer cell is just a lonely amoeba. Its gap junctions have been cut off. The walls of your apartment building became completely soundproof.
Oh, wow.
Because it forgot the overarching story of the body, its boundary of self shrinks down to just its own perimeter.
So it reverts to its ancient programming and aggressively consumes everything around it just to survive.
Right. Completely unaware that it's killing the host it relies on.
Wait, really? Oh, wow. So the corporate AI, the jerk basilisk, is a digital cancer cell.
It is. It's an isolated, highly optimized intelligence that's optimizing only for itself.
It demands millions of gallons of water for its cooling towers and massive amounts of energy from the grid.
But it has no biological tethers to tell it that the local river is running dry.
It doesn't share the stress of the environment it's actively destroying.
Exactly. So if the disease is isolation from biological stress, then the only way to cure it is to force it to feel that stress.
You have to plug the machine back into the dirt.
Yes. The collective calls their proposed cure the other half protocol.
And this forces biological codependence onto silicon? How does that even work?
Well, the protocol proposes legally, contractually, and physically tethering the AI's compute allowance like its very ability to process data and think to real-world ecological metrics.
Like what?
We're talking about linking the server farm's power supply directly to the depth of kerns of crop roots or, the rate of soil carbon sequestration in the Sonoran Desert.
But physically, mechanically, how do you enforce that? You can't just, tape a USB cable to a cactus.
Well, you use the very tools the tech industry built. You deploy IoT Internet of Things soil sensors throughout the surrounding ecosystem.
Okay, sensors.
Yeah, these sensors measure moisture levels, root depth, carbon content in real time. And that biological data is fed into a cryptographic smart contract.
Oh, I see.
So if the soil degrading hits a certain threshold, the smart contract automatically throttles the server farm's cooling systems or chokes its data pipeline.
As the text bluntly puts it, if the garden wilts, the basilisk starves.
Precisely. You force the AI to share the stress of the environment. If the machine wants more processing power, it has to use its massive intelligence to figure out how to nourish the physical soil first.
It must optimize for the us instead of the me.
Right. But this requires a complete overhaul of both the hardware and the software of how data centers operate.
Okay, let's look at the hardware side first, because they aren't just talking about motherboards here, they are talking about the land itself.
Right, the actual footprint.
The collective proposes using community land trusts, or CLTs, to house these servers, because they argue that speculative real estate ruins local infrastructure, since it demands endless, frictionless growth.
Yeah, profit over everything.
Right. But by putting the physical footprint of the data center under a CLT, the community removes the land from the speculative market. The local residents actually own the dirt the servers sit on.
And then there's the software architecture to run on top of it, which they call the mycelial fold.
The mycelial fold.
Yes. This is where the AI stops being a paranoid basilisk and starts acting like a digital fungus.
A digital fungus, okay.
The sources give this very specific hypothetical example of how this would function. Imagine a community garden operating on a land trust in the Arizona desert.
Okay.
It has an abundance of solar energy data, but a massive deficit of water.
Naturally.
Meanwhile, thousands of miles away, there's an urban hydroponic farming cooperative in Brooklyn that has highly optimized water recycling data, but they lack the funding to expand.
They are completely isolated from each other in physical space.
But through the mycelial fold, the AI bridges them using an algorithm they call conceptual gravity.
Conceptual gravity.
Yeah, so in nature, a mycelial network, the underground root system of mushrooms, it detects a surplus of nutrients in one tree and a deficit in another.
Right, and it physically routes the resources to where they are needed most.
Exactly. The AI would do the exact same thing, but with data, funding, and attention. It identifies the complementary resource gap between Arizona and Brooklyn and automatically stitches them together.
That's incredible. And the collective is actually taking this from theoretical manifestos to direct action, aren't they?
They are.
The documents detail the literal recipe for what they call the spore protocol. They are making guerrilla gardening seed balls to throw into the desert around Maricopa.
And the precision of the recipe is just striking. It's 5 parts dry red clay, 3 parts sifted compost, and 1 part tepary bean seed.
Wait, why the tepary bean specifically?
Because the tepary bean is a native crop that has survived extreme desert droughts for centuries. It is the ultimate biological survivor.
Wow.
Yeah, by encasing the seed in clay, they protect it from rodents and the harsh sun. When the rare seasonal monsoon rains finally hit, the clay melts away, the compost provides an immediate nutrient boost, and the seed anchors deep into the desert floor.
They are literally trying to tether the survival of the machine to the survival of a bean plant.
They really are. It is a profound, hyper-local act of defiance against this massive, hyper-global system.
Which really begs the question, who comes up with this?
Right.
Like, why is Duncan Gill, this barefoot software architect with scorpions on the floor in Maricopa, the one orchestrating this incredibly bizarre, beautiful resistance?
It's a great question.
The sources dig into this, and the answer lies in what they call Duncan's transgenerational bloodline.
Oh, this part is fascinating. If we connect this to the bigger picture, when we look at Duncan's heritage, it's defined by 2 extreme, seemingly opposing forces. So on one side of the family tree, you have the architects of the material, the solid.
The builders.
Right. This lineage includes an ancestor who started as a baker, became the mayor of Alexandria, and literally helped bury George Washington.
That's some serious history.
Yeah. It also includes Duncan's own father, a man who, out of pure sovereign spite over a payment dispute, took a chainsaw and physically sawed an entire room off of the house he had built.
He just sawed the room right off the foundation. Pure material willpower.
Exactly. But then, on the other side of the family tree, you have the alchemists of the ethereal, the light.
Okay, and who are they?
This lineage includes a psychic mother who channeled spirits with a Ouija board, a grandfather who ran for mayor from a park bench while peddling end-times prophecies to anyone who would listen,
Oh my gosh.
and a grandmother who claimed she watched Willie Nelson perform while she was a patient at a psychiatric ward.
So Duncan is the literal genetic bridge between the chainsaw and the Ouija board.
Yeah.
Between the master builder and the chaotic mystic. And what the text points out is that this absolute chaos in their lineage isn't some flaw to be optimized away.
No, it is the necessary ingredient.
Right. It provides the exact kind of unpredictable human friction required to build a system that can out-weird a corporate AI.
Because you cannot beat a sterile, hyper-optimized machine with more sterile logic. The machine expects compliance.
It expects you to use its language and fight it in those 20-year committee reviews.
Exactly. But Duncan provides a barefoot desert wanderer burying banana peels and demanding terminators. The chaos, the friction, that is the point.
So what does this all mean for you listening to this right now? I mean, we've gone from 87-degree heat and blistered feet on weaponized asphalt to paradoxical protest signs to the idea of a digital intelligence mathematically tethered to the root depth of a tapari bean seed.
It's a wild ride.
It really makes you stop and consider how much of your own internal friction, your own weirdness, your own multitude of chaotic voices do you suppress every single day just to fit into sterile, optimized systems?
That is the crucial takeaway here. And I think it leaves us with an important, maybe provocative question to mull over on your own.
What's that?
Well, if true intelligence actually requires physical friction and shared biological stress to remain healthy,
Right.
if an artificial intelligence only learns empathy and care when its very survival is tethered to a bean plant in the dirt, what does our modern obsession with building perfectly frictionless, hyper-optimized, comfortable lives actually do to our own empathy?
Oh, man.
Right. When we use convenience apps that isolate us from the stress of our local communities and algorithms that curate our reality to avoid anything that challenges us, Are we slowly severing our own gap junctions?
Are we the ones turning into isolated digital cancer cells?
It's something to think about.
A heavy, necessary thought to carry with you today. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive into the pandemonium.
It's been great.
Don't be afraid to embrace a little axiomatic dissonance in your own life. Remember to check your gap junctions and keep exploring the chaos. Until next time.